Chapter 4, The Chariot. She fancied that he was much hotter in the flesh, and since she had recently turned 18, Dorothy was scouting for what she considered a real man. Hiding behind the rugged Sedanta was Jeremy. Jeremy was a dainty ebony youth with his face far too pretty for a man. Since his face was almost identical to Nefertiti, he was often mistaken for a woman. His expressive black eyes complemented his short, curly brown hair. Dorothy took Sedanta's hand to guide him to the living room. It was pretty obvious to all those assembled that she had a little crush on the handsome police officer. Sedanta and Jeremy sat on the love seat, and sitting before them in a massive sofa was Michael's entire family. Kain sat in the middle to illustrate his neutrality. Sedanta handed Jeremy's resume to Eugenia, and it was just about what she had expected with only one prior working experience. A maid entered the room to bring the preliminary background check that they had done on Jeremy, and there was no record of his existence till the age of 8, and police officers had found a homeless boy hiding in the basement of a foreclosed property. He bounced around foster homes until Sedanta got a job and emancipated himself, with him becoming Jeremy's legal guardian. "Do you have any experience working with dogs?" asked Eugenia. Yes, he does. Our last foster parents had 3 pit bulls, and it was Jeremy's dog to walk those dangerous animals around the neighborhood, explained Sedanta. "We don't have anything nearly as dangerous as pit bulls," said Michael, laughing. "Jeremy, show them how you leash walk your cat," said Sedanta, gently nudging Jeremy with his elbow. Jeremy reached into his bag to bring out his Sphinx cat, T-Bolt. The cat stood still while Jeremy put it on the harness, and he walked his cat around the living room, and the interrogation continued with Sedanta answering all of the questions. Eventually it came time to meet the dogs, and as soon as Jeremy stepped foot in the garden, the dogs started barking aggressively, and Eugenia was surprised. This was the first time she had seen her dogs overreacting to an unfamiliar face. Jeremy kneeled down to be on eye level with the dogs, and he stretched his hand to pet Eugenia's poodle, Misa. Eugenia screeched when Misa sunk her fangs into Jeremy's hands, and this was the first time Misa had ever bitten a person, and blood flowed profusely from the open wound. At the sight of the blood, Eugenia fainted, and Michael caught his wife before she fell, and Dorothy ran to the house to get the first aid kit. Carina applied first aid to Jeremy's hand while Michael roused his wife from her stupor. "How much are you going to pay me to look after your dogs?" whispered Jeremy. "Did you hear me? I am so sorry," said Eugenia in full apology mode. "Don't worry about it. You haven't done anything wrong. Dogs bite. It is unrealistic to expect a dog never to bite a person in their entire life," whispered Jeremy. "I still want the job if you would have me." "I don't know, Jeremy," said Eugenia, worried about a potential lawsuit. "Please let me try again, and if I can get the wild dogs to walk around the yard with me, will you hire me?" whispered Jeremy. Eugenia saw the bandaged hand, and she looked at her poodle Misa licking her chops. Her white fur was stained red with Jeremy's blood. The poodle Misa seemed quite happy now that she had tasted human blood. Jeremy brought a wet handkerchief from his backpack, and he approached Misa. The dog showed her fangs, but she didn't bite again. And once Misa's face was clean, all breathed a collective sigh of relief. Jeremy leashed Misa, and he walked her around the yard, and then the little chihuahua was followed behind, and from time to time one would bite at Jeremy's pants, and he stoically ignored the misbehavior. Sedanta had his arms folded as he dug his nails into his flesh, and this was the only visible sign of his internal turmoil. And on the second round, Jeremy leashed the 2 chihuahuas, and when he added his cat to the mix, something miraculous happened. The aggressive behavior of the dogs completely disappeared, and after an hour of walking, the dogs lost their primal fear of Jeremy. And during that time, Michael had been talking on the phone with his lawyer, and the lawyer advised Michael to give Jeremy the job. Jeremy was offered $200 a day to walk the dogs, and he was given a key to the backyard and his work schedule. And the sunset came, and Eunice and Kain started dinner. Ernest was happy to have another helping hand in the kitchen, and during dinner Sidanta ranted about his job. I can always tell when a man is up to no good, bragged Sidanta, and once I see rolling on my prey, I stalk until I catch the criminal in the act. Yes, but how can you tell if a person is up to no good? Insisted Dorothy while she leaned closer to Sidanta. By scent, explained Sidanta, pointing at his nose. Evildoers perspire differently, especially when they're in the middle of doing something illegal. Do I smell like a naughty girl? Asked Dorothy, offering her hand. Sidanta, in full flirtation mode, took Dorothy's hand and he imbibed her scent, and Dorothy giggled as her face blushed an exquisite pink, and she was surprised by the smoothness of such powerful-looking hands, and the flirtation came to an end just as quickly when Jeremy started crying. My hand's starting to hurt. Can I have a Tylenol, please? Cried Jeremy. Annie sprang from her seat to fetch the medicine, and Jeremy took it, and he continued to eat his meal in silence while tears rolled down his lovely cheeks, and Sidanta felt that he had abused Eugenia's hospitality enough, and he left with Jeremy with a bag filled with leftover and the dessert to go. After Sidanta left, King got a text message. I am home, texted Jack. King closed his cell phone before saying to Eugenia, I better get going. Tomorrow I have work, and thank you for giving Jeremy the very generous part-time job. You're welcome, Kain, said Eugenia, a bit disappointed, and she had just remembered that Kain actually worked for a living. Can you stay over for tonight? My job isn't as secure as you think, Eugenia, said Kain. If I slack off, I'm not the only person who's going to be in trouble, but maybe if you want to, you could come over to my house instead. And this will give me enough time to please you and still make it to work on time tomorrow. It didn't take much coaxing for Eugenia to agree to a sleepover, and she packed some clothing and supplies, and Ken got inside his car but in the passenger seat. He was still in the habit of avoiding driving whenever possible, and Eugenia was far too amused by the night that she had planned to notice his quirk. The lovers chatted about sweet nonsense during their car ride, and Eugenia parked behind Jack's car, and Ken opened the door for her. My humble abode, my lady, said Ken, guiding Eugenia to his home. I have already been here before, Ken, giggled Eugenia. You only saw the living room, said Ken candidly before starting his little tour. There is so much more for you to see. Here's my grandma's bedroom, the kitchen, see, I have my own laundry room. The door leads to the backyard. I don't have a pool, but I have plenty of trees and ferns. And they came with the house, and from the dining space, you see the patio, and I need to replace that light. Ken lowered his voice when he got to his father's room, and he opened the door lightly for Eugenia to peep inside. Jack was sitting on top of the bed, surrounded by photos, and he seemed to be in the midst of a craft project. And when Ken drew closer, Jack turned as pale as a sheet, and he picked up all of the photos before locking them inside a box. And among the photos he had stashed away were pictures of himself and Eugenia. This didn't inspire Eugenia much confidence, but she decided not to make a big deal about it. She fancied that Jack might have a little crush on her, and this made sense to her. After all, she was young and beautiful. And she entered Ken's bedroom to familiarize herself with the place. I'm going to be working a lot with Eugenia tonight, and I'm just warning you so you can make arrangements to sleep in Grandma's room. It is a lot quieter there, said Ken. You can be as loud as you want, Ken, said Jack, and when I close the door, I can barely hear anything that goes on the other room. Ken closed the door of his father's bedroom, and Jack put away his supplies, and he sat with his ear against the wall in order to eavesdrop. And when Ken entered his bedroom, Eugenia had strayed down to her lingerie, and she was pleased by the cleanliness of everything, and it was rare to find a man that wasn't a total slob. Ken noticed that his pencil wasn't properly aligned with the desk, and he fixed it before paying attention to Eugenia. Before we get started, I wanted to give you a little gift, said Eugenia, digging into her backpack, and she dug up the illustrated tome of the Kama Sutra. Giggling, she said, it is just a little something to help you improve your performance. Took you long enough to complain about it, said Ken dryly, and he opened his nightstand and he brought out a survey. By answering this survey, I will be better able to please you in the bedchambers. So you were aware that I was unsatisfied? Said Eugenia, raising an eyebrow. You're not as good an actor as you think you are, Eugenia, said Ken, smiling shyly. I must be losing my touch, said Eugenia, blushing. I'm sorry, it's just that you seemed so happy at the end of our play sessions that I just didn't have the heart to tell you that you were not doing me properly. Communication is key to a long-lasting relationship, said Kain. Long-lasting, repeated Eugenia, laughing nervously. Kain forced a fake smile before saying, I have my own list of complaints as well, Eugenia, and there are some things that you do that don't sit right with me. Such as? Asked Eugenia, completely taken aback. I am not a fan of how you, said Kain before sticking his middle finger in his mouth, and he added, and the faces you make, they are not so much as lewd, but comical. It is pretty hard to get aroused when you try not to laugh. To illustrate this point, Kain parodied the expression that Eugenia made whenever she was trying to get a rise out of him. And Eugenia laughed when she saw how stupid she looked, and she only did the stupid faces because that is what women did in the videos that Santiago was so fond of watching. Instead of making love, the two spent the night poking at each other's love-making technique, and then they fell asleep in each other's arms. The following morning came, and Eugenia woke to breakfast in bed, and Kain was already dressed to work, but he wanted to say goodbye to Eugenia before departing. And while she ate breakfast, Kain accidentally blurted out, move in with me. Come again, asked Eugenia, pretending to have misheard Kain. What I meant to say was that Bruno moved in with Carina, said Kain, trying to salvage the situation. And he sipped his coffee nervously. Isn't it a little too soon for them to be moving in together, asked Eugenia. Well, when you know, and Eugenia always had a weakness for green-eyed men, and as soon as one would pop up, she would dump me into the nearest garbage can where I belonged, said Kain with a slight trembling in his voice. Eugenia grew saddened, and she finished her breakfast quickly before jumping out of bed. Kain drove Eugenia back to her house before going to work, and when he entered the break room, he saw Farley coming on the top of the stairs, and he was going to change the talking light bulb. Stop, what are you doing? yelled Kain, pulling Farley's arm. I'm changing the light bulbs. What do you think I'm doing? asked Farley, raising an eyebrow. These new ones I brought are eco-friendly. Please leave this one alone, insisted Kain. If you tell me why, then I will leave it alone, said Farley, descending the staircase. The light bulb talks, said Kain as his ears turned red. The light bulb talks to you, said Farley, raising an eyebrow. Here was the confirmation of what he had been suspecting since crossing paths with Kain. All the more reason to get rid of it. It doesn't talk with words, but in Morse code, said Kain, blushing. See how it is blinking? It is doing it in a specific pattern, and every week it changes its pattern. And last week it said I, C, and U. And this week it keeps repeating the words P, P. Right, so the light bulb watches you pee, said Farley, laughing heartily. All the more reason to get rid of it. Accidenta, he said, one who drew attention to the talking light bulb, insisted Kain. Tiranta's probably having a laugh at your expense, said Farley, still laughing. It is probably a trick light bulb, and you can make electronics do all sorts of kooky things these days. Farley left the light bulb alone for the time being, and he was convinced that Tiranta was playing a mean prank on Kain, and he was the type of man who thought that technology was magic. Tiranta arrived a few minutes late to work, but nobody minded. Farley interrogated Tiranta about the talking light bulb that spoke in Morse code. Tiranta's coughing said, I merely mentioned it as a curiosity, and those familiar with Morse code can't help but find messages in the most unexpected places. So you don't mind if I change the light bulb, insisted Farley. It is probably going to go out sooner or later, so why delay the inevitable? I would prefer if you left it be, but there's nothing I can do to stop you from doing what you want, and I can't spend on my day as a custodian of the darn thing, said Tiranta, sighing sadly. In the end, Farley had his way, and he climbed the ladder, and he changed out the light bulb for a new energy-efficient one. And as he was changing it, Farley purposely dropped the old light bulb, completely shattering it. The two rookie scouts looked at the broken light bulb sadly, and Farley saw his work, and he fancied that it was good. And when he turned on the light, the new light bulb immediately started flickering. It must be a wiring issue, said Farley, frowning. I will need to get an electrician to fix it. It is just one flickering light bulb, said Tiranta. There's no need to obsess about it. That's funny coming from you, retorted Farley. The pattern changed, said Kain, bringing out his notepad, and he jotted down the letters B, U, and G, bug. Instead of wasting your time trying to solve the mystery of the talking light bulb, why don't you do some actual police work, rebuked Farley. Yes, retorted Farley, said Kain and Siddhanta meekly. Siddhanta returned to his workstation and he sat down on his desk and he noticed that Kain had followed after him. So what cases are you working on? Asked Kain. Just your standard murder, said Siddhanta. On May 23, Naomi was found dead in her apartment, and no signs pointing to a homicide. And since there was no forced entry, the victim must have known her murderer. Nelson was taken from the apartment, and that's all we know. If you haven't found anything yet, I suggest we spend our efforts elsewhere, said King. Ken said that too, said Siddhanta, and the case is going to get cold soon, and before that happens, I want to make a breakthrough. And if you want to help, go right ahead, and here's all the evidence and photos I collected. What am I not seeing? The two would sit down on this case for a few hours, and then eventually sent Siddhanta to answer 911 calls. And some burglars had broken into the house owned by a little old lady, and the purse was still in the house. Ken, who wanted to be used for rent after Siddhanta, and he got inside his patrol car. Uncle Gen didn't give you permission to come along, said Siddhanta. Uncle Gen never lets me do anything, protested King. And please let me go with you, Siddhanta. I am more than just an errand boy with a police badge. Siddhanta hesitated, and since time was of the essence, he allowed King to tag along. And before arriving to the destination, Siddhanta patted King's chest to make certain that his partner was wearing a bulletproof vest. King thought of the talking light bulb and what it had changed the message to the word bug. King said, in Morse code, bug means semi-automatic. We best tread lightly, said Siddhanta, taking the prophetic words of the light bulb a little too seriously. Siddhanta entered the back while King climbed up the ladders into the second floor, and according to the 911 call, the old lady was hiding in the closet. And he found the old woman trembling like a leaf, and all she had was a letter cutter for protection. King placed his index finger to his lips to command silence, and he looked about for something heavy to place before the closet, and as a meditating scene, King removed his bulletproof vest to cover the old woman with it. He heard noises coming from the other room, and downstairs somebody yelled, and the scream was followed by a bullet hell. The burglar in the other room stopped looting to go help his partner. King left the bedroom to intercept the other burglar that was in the second floor, and he drew his pistol out of his holster, and after taking courage, he yelled, "Freeze!" The burglar, instead of freezing, shot his gun without turning around, and the bullets grazed Kane's shirt, and Kane shot one bullet in response. And this first bullet pierced the burglar's shoulder. The thief dropped his gun and he attempted to flee, and Kane chased the bird, and he got him halfway downstairs. And with the masked man struggling, Kane lost his balance, and the two rolled downstairs. And at that moment, the other burglar brought out a semi-automatic, and he aimed it at Kane, and before he got a chance to shoot, Siddhanta shot a taser at the burglar. Siddhanta shocked the assailant until the body went limp. "Charlie," moaned the burglar. "Charlie's lucky that I ran out of bullets," said Siddhanta, coming over with the handcuffs. Siddhanta frowned when he saw the bullet hole in Kane's outfit, and he sighed with relief when he saw that it only grazed through his uniform. "Where is your vest?" "I placed it over the old lady to protect her," said Kane meekly. "You are a fool, Kane. Now I understand why Gen doesn't trust you with any real police work," said Siddhanta, chastising his co-worker. "Make yourself useful and take Charlie to the car." Kane meekly did as he was told, and the paramedics came arrived moments later, and once they had confirmation that the criminals had been arrested. The victim was more or less in one piece, and Kane recovered his vest, and he smiled happily when he noticed that he had blocked an actual bullet. When he arrived at the workstation, instead of getting congratulated, Gen gave his nephew a serious talking to. So like if Kane hadn't given the little old lady his bulletproof vest, the old lady would have gotten shot at and died. Kane returned to his workstation to continue with his forensic artist training, and he listened to the recordings of the victim describing their attackers while he tried to recreate the criminal's face based on vague descriptions. He was distracted from his work by Uncle Gen, and then placed a cupcake in front of his nephew. The cupcake had a little candle. Ken removed his headset and he blew the candle, and Gen said apologetic, "I'm sorry for yelling, son. You did a good thing today. Never do that again. You don't need to be a hero to be part of the team." "Yes, Uncle Gen," said Ken meekly. "Did you finish your homework?" asked Gen, picking up one of the drawings. "Yes, Uncle Gen," repeated Ken. "Tonight I want you to watch the 6 o'clock news," said Gen. "I have a surprise for you." Yes, Uncle Glenn, repeated Kain. The word that came to an end, and Kain breathed a sigh of relief, and he tested Eugenia to see if she wanted to hang out. And his girlfriend wasn't in the mood to see him, and she wanted to stay in her room watching TV without worrying about entertaining her boyfriend. And unlike Kain, she was completely independent. Kain sighed before driving home, and he smiled happily when he saw his father in the living room watching television. It was October 18, and this day had an important significance for Alexia. Every year, in spite of himself, Alexia would recall his first day of school. In 1993, Alexia had been forced to change high school. Due to the constant teasing and occasional beatings, Alexia had stopped going to school, and with no other recourse, his mother decided to take drastic measures. With no other recourse, his mother decided that drastic measures were needed if her son was to graduate and go to college. The pair moved from Homestead to Hialeah, and it wasn't a big move, but it at least created distance between Alexia and his bullies. Alexia opened his closet and he picked the most masculine outfit he could find, a Punisher t-shirt. And once he was fed, his mother Cassidy drove him to school. And along the way they discussed their battle plan. Don't forget, Alexander, you are here to get graduated so you can go to college to be somebody. I am the only thing you have left in the entire world, and when I'm gone, a degree is going to secure your future. Try to act normal. I already learned my lesson, Mother, said Alexia meekly. Maybe this time you could try dating a girl, asked Cassidy. Who knows, you might actually end up liking them more. Yes, Mother, said Alexia, giving a fake smile. His new school was called Barbara Goldman, and the school was predominantly Cuban and Vietnamese with a healthy mix of everything else. And after introducing himself, Alexia sat in the only empty seat in the classroom, and the person sitting beside Alexia was Carina, a cheerleader and a future valedictorian, and her friend Kain was taking notes while she touched up her nails. Carina blew on her hands, and she smiled gleefully. The teacher brought out a surprise test, and Alexia remembered fondly seeing Carina struggle to write down her answers while trying not to ruin her freshly nail polish. Why not to ruin her nails? She was like trying to writing weird. The fun ended when the teacher stood before Carina. Eyes on your paper, Alexander, said the teacher, obstructing the view of Carina's scantron. The bell rang and the students dispersed, and his second class of the day was homeroom. The bell rang and the students dispersed, and the teacher did a roll call before going to sleep. The students had permission to do as they will, as long as they were super quiet about it. Carina left her seat to hang out invitation. Her friend Leticia was celebrating her sweet 16. Everyone had to go there. Carina became aware of a new face, and she eyed Alexia from head to toe, and since he looked harmless, she handed him an invitation. You are new, whispered Carina. My name is Carina. Pleased to meet you. I am Alexander, but my friends call me Alexia, said Alexia, shaking hands with Carina. Alexia sounds like a chick's name, commented a classmate. They just call me whatever you want, whimpered Alexia, shrinking into his chair. It's not as if my preferences didn't matter to anyone. Huh? Said Carina, placing her hand behind her ear louder. Alright, so that's the end of that chapter. Mostly because, like, I almost died out of recording time. Bye-bye, God bless.